You wonder why the same pain keeps finding you, why the same patterns repeat, why freedom feels like something that happens to other people but never quite arrives for you. And somewhere beneath all the wondering, beneath all the searching, sits something you already know but will not say. You are still running from the one thing that could set you free. We spend our lives in motion, never quite arriving anywhere. We fill the hours with noise and tasks and endless streams of distraction, believing this is living, when really it is fleeing. There is always something to do, someone to see, somewhere to be. The calendar stays full, the mind stays busy, and beneath it all, beneath every choice to keep moving, lives the quiet knowledge that we are running from something we cannot name. Silence frightens us. We sense what waits there in the stillness. Some truth we have been dodging, some feeling we cannot afford to feel, some memory we have agreed never to revisit. So we keep the television on, we keep scrolling, we keep the music playing, the conversation flowing, the schedule packed. We become masters of our own distraction, artists of avoidance, and we call it productivity, call it self-care, call it anything but what it is, escape. The body tries to speak. It has been trying for years. It sends signals in the language of tension and pain, in shallow breathing and chronic exhaustion, in the knot between your shoulders that never quite releases. But we have learned to ignore these messages, to override them with caffeine and willpower and the determination to push through. We treat the body like an inconvenience, a machine that should perform without complaint. And when it breaks down, when it forces us to stop, we are surprised as if we did not hear it whispering warnings for months, for years. Watch how you move through your days. Notice the speed of it, the constant motion. Notice what happens when a quiet moment threatens to open. How quickly do you reach for your phone? How fast do you find something that needs doing? This reflex, this immediate turn away from stillness is not random. It is practiced. It is purposeful. You are protecting yourself from something, even if you cannot say what. The weight of all this. Avoiding, can you feel it? The exhaustion that has no clear source. The heaviness that sleep does not touch. You are tired not from doing too much, but from the constant vigilance required to not feel, not remember, not face. Every day you wake and recommit to the performance, I am fine. Everything is manageable. I have moved on. And every day the pretending costs you something you cannot quite name, but can feel in the dullness behind your eyes, in the flatness of your own voice when you say you are okay. We build elaborate philosophies to justify the avoidance. We read books about letting go while gripping tighter. We talk about healing while refusing to touch the wound. We adopt the language of transformation without allowing ourselves to be transformed. Somewhere along the way, we learn that healing should look a certain way, peaceful, graceful, contained. And so we perform that version while the real work remains undone, the real pain unaddressed, the real truth unspoken. This is the life half lived, functional but not free, present but not alive, surviving but not thriving. You meet your obligations, you maintain your relationships, you show up where you are expected, but there is a part of you that stays locked away, untouched, unknown even to yourself. And you have been living this way so long you have forgotten there is another way to be. There is something you will not look at. You know what it is. In the deepest part of you, where you cannot lie, you know exactly what sits waiting to be seen. Maybe it is the truth about how you were treated, the ways you were harmed, the love that should have been there but was not. Maybe it is something you did, some choice you made that you wish you could unmake, some way you hurt another person that you have never fully faced. Maybe it is grief that has nowhere to go, anger that has no acceptable outlet, need that feels too shameful to admit. Whatever it is, you have built your life around not looking at it. Your routines, your relationships, your very sense of self, all of it, organized to maintain distance between you and this one unbearable thing. You have become skilled at the dance of almost facing, of getting close enough to feel brave, but never close enough to actually see. You circle it, reference it, brush up against it, but you do not land. You do not stay. You do not let yourself fully arrive at the truth of it. We tell ourselves stories to make the avoidance acceptable. We say it was not that bad. We say other people had it worse. We say I have forgiven it, move past it, let it go. But these are just words we use to avoid the deeper reckoning. Forgiveness that costs nothing, that requires no actual feeling, no real acknowledgement of what was lost or broken. This is not freedom. This is just another form of hiding. Shame stands guard at the gate of truth. Shame whispers, if you really look at this, you will not survive it. Shame says, this truth about you is too ugly to bear. Shame insists, you must keep this hidden or risk being unlovable, unacceptable, alone. And so you obey. You keep the secret even from yourself. You perform wellness while something in you slowly dies from lack of air, lack of light, lack of honest witnessing. But what is acknowledgement, really? What does it mean to face what you have been fleeing? It is not dwelling, it is not wallowing. It is not building your identity around suffering or making a career out of victimhood. It is simpler and harder than that. It is the raw act of letting something be true, of saying yes to reality instead of negotiating with it, of bearing witness to your own experience without needing to immediately fix it, explain it, or make it mean something other than what it was. You are afraid that if you face it, you will stay stuck in it forever. That acknowledgement equals imprisonment. That to say, this happened, or this hurt, or I feel this, means resigning yourself to permanent pain. But the opposite is true. What you will not face is what binds you. What you refuse to acknowledge is what runs your life from the shadows. The wound you will not touch is the wound that controls everything. The pain you are avoiding is already present. It is in every defensive reaction, every pattern you cannot break, every relationship that feels eerily familiar in its dysfunction. It is in the way you go numb at certain moments, the way certain topics make you change the subject, the way you feel disconnected from your own life, even as you live it. The avoidance has not made the pain go away. It has just made it diffuse, made it ambient, made it the water you swim in without recognizing it as water. Walk through your own interior and notice the rooms you will not enter. Notice the doors you pass quickly, the hallways you avoid, the entire wings of your inner world you have marked as forbidden territory. This is the geography of your own denial-mapped, familiar, carefully maintained. You know exactly where not to go. You know exactly what not to think about. You know exactly which memories, which feelings, which truths must remain sealed away. What lives in those locked rooms? Not the monster you imagine, not the unbearable catastrophe that will destroy. You, if released, just the human truth of a human life, just what actually happened, just how you actually felt, just what you actually needed and did not get, just what you did that you wish you had not done, just the grief that has nowhere to go, just the anger that was never allowed, just the fear that makes perfect sense, just the longing that feels too vulnerable to admit. Numbness is not peace, yet we confuse them constantly. We call it healing when really it is just not feeling. We praise ourselves for being over it, when really we are just under it, buried beneath layers of disconnection, beneath the constant performance of okayness. There is a difference between genuine peace and the exhausted resignation that comes from years of refusing to feel. There is a difference between having processed something and having simply stopped letting yourself access it. You know this flatness. You know this sense of going through the motions, of watching your own life from a slight distance. You are here but not here, present but not present. You laugh at the right moments, say the right things, show up where you are supposed to show up, but inside there is an absence. Inside there is a part of you that is still locked away, waiting for permission to exist, to feel, to finally be witnessed. We rename our avoidance in ways that sound like wisdom. We call it not dwelling in the past when we mean refusing to digest the past. We call it staying positive when we mean denying negative feelings. We call it moving forward when we mean running away. The language sounds evolved, sounds mature, sounds like growth, but underneath the spiritual terminology and the therapeutic vocabulary, we are just describing the same old pattern, refusing to face what hurts. There is grief you have never let yourself grieve. It sits in you like unmelted ice, cold and solid and taking up space. Someone died, or something died, or some version of your future died, and you did not let yourself fall apart because falling apart felt like failing. You held it together, you stayed strong, you kept functioning, and now the grief is not gone. It has just become part of your baseline, a heaviness so constant you do not even notice it anymore, a weight you call normal. There is anger you have been swallowing for years. You were taught that anger is dangerous, ugly, unacceptable. So when rage rises, you stuff it down. You smile instead. You accommodate instead. You understand instead. You understand instead. You make excuses for the inexcusable. You accept the unacceptable. And the anger does not disappear, it festers. It curdles, turns into depression or bitterness or the constant low-grade irritation that colors everything you do. There are betrayals you have minimized, violations you have reframed, harm you have decided was not really harm because admitting the truth would require too much change, too much upheaval, too much honesty. So you soften it, you rationalize it. You tell yourself stories that make it manageable, make it livable, and year by year you train yourself to tolerate what no one should tolerate, to accept what no one should accept, to normalize what should never be normal. This is what avoidance does. It distorts reality itself. It bends your perception until you can no longer tell the difference between peace and shutdown, between strength and disconnection, between healing and hiding. You lose touch with your own experience. You lose access to your own truth, and you do not even realize what you have lost, because the losing happens so slowly, so gradually, across so many years of small compromises with yourself. Everything you do not face extracts a price. The cost is not obvious, not immediate, but it accumulates. Every day you spend not feeling what needs to be felt, not seeing what needs to be seen, not speaking what needs to be spoken, that day costs you. It costs you energy, presence, aliveness. It costs you access to joy, to intimacy, to the full range of your own humanity. You are spending your life in service to the avoidance, and the currency is your own vitality. Unfaced pain does not stay put. It moves through your life like a stain spreading through fabric. It colors how you see yourself worthy or unworthy, capable or broken, lovable or fundamentally flawed. It shapes how you see others, trustworthy or dangerous, safe or threatening, capable of real love or inevitably disappointing. It determines what you believe is possible, what you can have, what you deserve, how good things are allowed to get before the other shoe drops. Over time, avoidance becomes character. The thing you would not face becomes the thing you are. The wound you would not look at becomes your lens for viewing everything. You do not realize this is happening because it happens beneath conscious awareness, in the space where beliefs form and identity solidifies. You wake up one day and realize your entire personality has organized itself around a trauma you insist you have moved past, around a pain you claim you have healed. Look at your relationships. Look closely. Do you see the pattern? The same dynamic repeating with different people, the same ending wearing different costumes, the same pain finding you again and again, as if by terrible coincidence. But it is not coincidence. The unhealed wound seeks familiar ground. The unfaced pain recreates itself in new circumstances. You choose partners who will not see you fully because being fully seen would require you to see yourself fully. Or you sabotage closeness when it threatens to touch the protected place. Or you leave the moment someone gets close to the truth, you will not tell. This is projection wearing the mask of relationship. You cannot face your own rage, so you call your partner hostile. You cannot face your own fear, so you try to control everything around you. You cannot face your own shame, so you spend your energy judging others, finding in them the flaws you will not acknowledge in yourself. You make others carry what is yours. You export the interior battle and then wonder why your relationships feel like war zones. And half-life, can you feel it? You are not obviously broken. You are not falling apart in visible ways. You get up. You go to work. You pay your bills. You smile when you are supposed to smile. But there is a vibrancy missing, a depth, a sense of being fully present in your own existence. You are managing life rather than living it. You are performing your days rather than inhabiting them. You are here, but you are not home. Every year you postpone facing what needs to be faced is a year the pattern deepens. The neural pathway wears further. The defense mechanisms calcify. The wall between you and your own truth becomes thicker, harder to penetrate. You tell yourself you will face it when you are ready, when you are stronger, when the timing is better. But ready never comes. Strong enough never arrives. The perfect time does not exist. And meanwhile, your life is passing. This one life you have is being spent in service to the avoidance. The wound is making your decision. The pain you will not acknowledge is running the show. It determines who you love, what you pursue, how you work, when you rest, what you believe you deserve. And you, the conscious you, the you that thinks it is in control, you are just following the dictates of something you will not turn around and face. Beneath the surface fear lives a deeper terror. Beneath the obvious reason you will not look lies the real reason. What are you actually protecting yourself from? Maybe the unbearable truth is your own complicity. Maybe you stayed when you should have left. Maybe you knew and pretended not to know. Maybe you made choices that harmed you and you cannot undo them. Maybe the story is messier than victim and villain. Maybe it is more complicated, more human, more shared. And if you face that complexity, you lose the comfort of the simple narrative, the clarity of innocence, the easy answer of blame. Or maybe you believe that facing means drowning, that if you open the door to grief, you will cry forever, that if you let yourself feel the full weight of the anger, it will consume you, destroy everything, make you unrecognizable. That acknowledgement is the same as agreement, that witnessing is the same as wallowing, that to touch the wound is to live in it forever. So you keep the door locked because you genuinely believe those are the only options, complete avoidance or complete submersion. Or maybe you know that facing will require action, that if you admit the truth, you will have to do something about it. You will have to leave the relationship or quit the job or confront the person or change your life in ways that terrify you. That honesty has a cost, comfort, security, the known quantities that make life feel manageable. That truth is expensive and you are not sure you can afford the price. Or maybe, and this cuts deepest, you are terrified that honesty means losing love. That if people knew what you carry, what you have done, what you have survived, what you actually feel, they would leave. That your worthiness depends on your performance of being okay. That you must hide the damaged parts to remain acceptable. So you show an edited version, a carefully curated self, and you are lonely inside your own protection, aching for real connection, while maintaining the very walls that make connection impossible. But the thing you fear is already happening. You are already fragmented by the hiding. You are already performing instead of being. You are already lonely inside the protection. You are already half present, half alive. The avoidance has not saved you from what you fear. It has guaranteed it. You have become the very thing you were trying to prevent. Facing does not mean what you think it means. It does not mean shattering. It does not mean endless suffering. It does not mean building your identity around pain. It means becoming whole enough to hold your own truth, strong enough to sit with your own reality, brave enough to stop running from what is yours to feel, to know, to carry, to finally integrate. The courage to simply see this is rare. Most people will not do it. Most people will spend their entire lives in elaborate avoidance, will die with their truth unspoken and their wound unfaced. They will choose the familiar pain of hiding over the transformative pain of honesty. They will protect themselves from healing, and there is no judgment in this. It is hard. It is terrifying. It requires a kind of bravery that goes unrewarded by the world, that happens in private, that no one will applaud. But you are reading this. You are still here. Some part of you knows. Some part of you knows. Some part of you is ready. Some part of you has always been ready. Facing begins with the simplest, hardest thing. You stop pretending you do not know. You stop playing innocent to your own story. You say it, not to anyone else, not in public performance of vulnerability, but to yourself. In the quietest place, where nothing is performed and no one is watching. This is what I have been avoiding. This is what I will not look at. This is the truth I keep dodging. Facing is not fixing. This distinction matters. You are not trying to solve it, strategize it, make it better, move past it. You are prior to all of that. You are in the raw act of acknowledgement. You are looking at what is without immediately trying to change it, escape it, make sense of it. You are staying present to your own experience long enough to let it register, to let it matter, to let it be real. Truth-telling becomes medicine. The truth you tell yourself, the truth you stop diluting, stop softening, stop spinning into something more palatable. When you name what is actually true, something shifts at the foundation. The lie loses its power. The secret loses its grip. Shame begins to loosen. Not because circumstances change, but because you have stopped doing violence to yourself. Through pretending, there is relief on the other side of admission that you cannot anticipate. A lightness, a sense of ground beneath your feet. You thought facing would crush you, but instead there is space, breath, a strange kind of peace, because hiding is exhausting. Pretending is so heavy, and when you finally set down the weight of the performance, even though what you are facing is painful, there is relief in the simplicity of letting something be true. Bearing witness to yourself, this is the work. Not analyzing, not fixing, not transcending. Just seeing. Just letting it be what it was and what it is. Just acknowledging, yes, this happened. Yes, this hurt. Yes, I felt that. Yes, I carry this. The simple, profound act of witnessing yourself without needing to change what you see, without needing it to be different than it is. There's dignity in this honest reckoning. A way that facing makes you more solid, more real, more present. You stop feeling like a ghost in your own story. You stop feeling like you're snagged just by existing. You become available to yourself. And in that availability, peace becomes possible. Not because the pain disappears, but because you are no longer at war with your own reality. But this is not one conversation, one realization, one cathartic moment that resolves everything. Facing is practice. It is daily. It is the choice you make again and again to stay present to what is true when everything in you wants to turn away. Start with the body. Not your thoughts about the body, not your interpretation of sensation, but the body itself speaking its own language. Where do you hold tension? Where does sensation live? What happens when you slow down enough to actually feel? The body has been keeping records you refuse to acknowledge. It will tell you if you listen. It will show you where the unfelt feelings are stored, where the unexpressed truth lives, where the avoided pain waits. Practice sitting with what arises without fleeing. The feeling comes grief, anger, fear, shame. And you do not immediately reach for distraction. You do not grab your phone, open the refrigerator, turn on the television, call a friend. You sit, you breathe, you let the feeling move through you. You discover that feelings are whether they rise, they peak, they pass. They will not destroy you. They never have. But you have been running so long, you never learned this fundamental truth. You can survive your own feelings. Feeling is different than thinking about feeling. You can spend years analyzing your pain without ever actually feeling it. You can understand it psychologically, explain it historically, discuss it therapeutically, and still never touch it. Feeling is direct. Feeling is now. Feeling is the raw experience of what is moving through you before you name it, before you make it mean something, before you turn it into story. Sometimes you just need to let grief be grief without knowing why. Let anger be anger without tracing its origin. Let fear be fear without needing to justify its presence. You do not need the full explanation to feel what you feel. You do not need to understand it to let it move. You just need to stop blocking it, stop talking yourself out of it, stop insisting it should not be there. Facing is choosing every day to not abandon yourself. The urge to avoid will return. The pull toward distraction will be strong. The old patterns will feel safe and familiar. And you will have to choose again to stay, to feel, to face. This is not failure. This is the nature of the work. The work is in the returning. The work is in the choosing, over and over, to remain present to your own experience. It takes patience. What has been buried for decades does not resolve in a week. What you have avoided for years does not heal in a month. The wound unfolds at its own pace. Truth reveals itself in layers. You cannot force it. You cannot rush it. You cannot rush it. You can only create conditions, space, presence, willingness, and let it move as it needs to move. And compassion must hold all of it. You cannot face what you hate. You cannot heal what you judge. You cannot sit with what you are punishing yourself for feeling. Compassion is not weakness. It is the strength that makes looking possible. It is the tenderness that allows witnessing. You are not broken for carrying this. You are not weak for needing to face it. You are human. This willingness to finally turn toward yourself with honesty. This is the most human thing there is. Something begins to shift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but something changes. There is power that comes from no longer hiding. Not power over others, but power as presence, as groundedness, as being fully in your own life. When you stop spending energy on avoidance, that energy becomes available for living. When you stop managing the performance, you can show up authentically. When you stop running from your own truth, you can stand still and discover you are solid, you are here, you are real. You become integrated. The wound is no longer separate, no longer the shameful thing you hide, no longer the defining feature around which everything else organizes. It becomes part of your story, part of your texture, part of the complex wholeness of who you are. The pain does not run the show anymore. You do. The past does not make your decisions. You do. What you survived shaped you, but no longer defines you. The wound becomes a teacher, not in some cheap spiritual way where you pretend to be grateful for suffering, but in the real sense that what you have faced has made you wiser, more human, more capable of truth. You learn what you are made of by surviving what you did not choose. You learn who you are by facing what you tried to hide. You learn what matters by feeling what hurts. There is freedom in no longer performing for yourself. You do not have to maintain the story anymore. You do not have to keep the secret from yourself. You do not have to pretend to be okay when you are not, strong when you are vulnerable, certain when you are afraid. You can just be what you are. And the relief of that, the deep rest of, simply being honest is its own form of healing. The energy returns, the energy that was locked in avoiding, in managing, in maintaining the lie. It comes back, you feel it as aliveness, as vitality, as capacity for presence and joy and connection. It was not lost, it was just trapped in the work of not facing. When you face, it is freed. You are free. Authenticity becomes possible. Not as performance, but as simply being what you are without apology. You become available for real intimacy because you are no longer hiding from yourself. You become capable of real love because you are no longer at war with reality. People can meet you because you are actually there to be met, not the curated version, not the defended self. You. This is what facing gives you, not the erasure of pain, but the wholeness to hold it. Not invulnerability, but the strength to be vulnerable. Not the end of struggle, but the capacity to struggle honestly. You become present, alive, here, free to feel everything, to love fully, to grieve deeply, to rage when rage is needed, to be exactly and completely human. The choice is here. Right now, as you sit with these words, the choice is present. You know what you have been avoiding. You know what waits to be faced. You have always known. You have just been pretending not to know, because knowing means choosing. Face it or keep running. You can keep running. Nothing is forcing you to stop. You can continue building your life around the avoidance. You can wake up in 10 years still carrying what you carry now, still living at half capacity, still wondering why freedom stays out of reach, while never admitting you are choosing the cage. Or you can turn, now, here. You can stop fleeing. You do not have to face it perfectly. You do not have to face it all at once. You just have to begin. You just have to be willing. You just have to stop believing that freedom will come through any other door than the one you have been refusing to open. You are strong enough, not because you are beyond pain, but because you have survived everything that brought you here, because you are still breathing, because the capacity to face is already in you, has always been in you, waiting only for your permission to emerge. Healing begins when you stop running, not when you feel better, not when you understand it all, not when the pain stops, but when you turn toward what is true, toward what is real, toward what you have spent years fleeing. That moment of turning, Matt, is where everything changes. Not because the wound disappears, but because you are finally present to it. And presence is the beginning. The wound is the way through. Not around, not over, not someday when you are ready. Through the grief, the anger, the shame, the truth. Through the room you keep locked. Through the mirror you refuse to face. Through, and on the other side is not perfection, not resolution, not some fantasy of permanent peace, but freedom. The freedom of no longer being at war with yourself. The freedom of being present to your own life. The freedom of facing what is true and discovering that truth, however painful, is more spacious than any lie. You cannot heal what you will not face. So face it. Turn toward it now. Let yourself see. Your freedom is waiting there, in the very place you have been afraid to look.